Okay. So before going to start with the first topic, that is pre-formulation, first we will go with the scope and objective of this subject, that is industrial pharmacy. So let us see the scope of this subject. Means once we study this subject industrial pharmacy, what will be the scope of this subject and what will be the main objective after completing the syllabus. So first let us see the scope. So this course will enable the student to understand the influence of pharmaceutical additives and various pharmaceutical dosage form on performance of the drug product. So after completion of this syllabus, you will come to know the influence of pharmaceutical additives and dosage form on the drug product. Additives means in order to formulate a tablet, syrup or anything, suppose we are talking about the syrup. So syrup will require some sugars in order to use sweet taste. There may be some addition of flavoring agents so that it will give good taste, especially in case of children's. So we can add various flavoring agents like the strawberry or anything else. Then so what will be the effect of these additives? Additives like sweetener, flavoring agent, or any other coloring agent. So what will be the effect of these additives on the final dosage form, and what will be the effect on performance of the drug product? So this is the scope of this subject. We will come to know the influence of pharmaceutical additives on the final dosage form. Then let us see the objective of this course. So students are able to know the various pharmaceutical dosage form and their manufacturing techniques. So what are the various pharmaceutical dosage form? If you enter in the medical store, you can see there are various types of dosage form. Some syrups are there, solution, suspension, emulsion, tablets, capsule, various types of dosage form. So dosage forms which are mainly classified into three types: solid, liquids and semi-solid. Solid like tablets and capsule, semi-solid like creams, ointments, liquid like suspension, emulsion, solution. Likewise, various dosage forms will be available in the medical store. So after completion of this syllabus, student will come to know the various dosage form. What are the various types of dosage form and their manufacturing technique? Suppose we are talking about the tablet, then what are the various manufacturing techniques of the tablet? So this uh, you will come to know after end of this syllabus. Then you will also come to know the various consideration in the development of dosage form. Various consideration in the development means what are the various procedure, what are the various precautions to be taken while preparing the dosage form. This you will comes to know in this syllabus. Again, you will come to know formulate and evaluate the dosage form for their quality. You mainly focus on the highlighted words in this presentation. So student will come to know the how to formulate solid, liquid, semi-solid dosage form and how to evaluate for their quality. So these are the three main objectives of the this course. So at the end of syllabus, student will come to know the various pharmaceutical dosage form, consideration in the development, and formulation and evaluation for their quality. So these are the objectives, scope and objective of your syllabus. Now we are moving towards main part of your syllabus, that is topic unit 1, that is pre-formulation studies. So what is mean by pre-formulation studies? So pre-formulation is a branch of pharmaceutical science used in the determination of physico-chemical properties of a drug substances. So this is very important task in the development of dosage form. So before proceeding for preparation of any dosage form, first we have to determine the physico-chemical properties. As you can see here in the highlighted words, used in the determination of physico-chemical properties of a drug substance. What is meant by physico-chemical properties? Physico-chemical means it is the combination of physical and chemical properties. So what are the physical properties and what are chemical properties? Physical properties means what is the melting point, refractive index, uh, optical density, optical activity. All these are the physical activity of any drug substances. And chemical means what is the stability, compatibility, is there any chemical reactions because of oxidation, reduction. So these are some chemical properties of the drug substances. So before going to prepare any drug substances, first we have to determine the physico-chemical properties. Suppose you are going to prepare a paracetamol tablet, then first you have to calculate the physicochemical properties of the paracetamol. Without proceeding for physicochemical properties, directly you cannot jump to the preparation of dosage form. First we have to go for physicochemical properties, and these physicochemical properties are always constant. Suppose in front of you there are two beakers, one containing water and another containing ethanol, and without touching it you have to identify which one is ethanol and which one is water. So you have to identify the unknown substances. So how we can identify these unknown substances? By means of their physicochemical properties. Suppose you are having water, keep it for boiling. Suppose if it is going to boil at 100 degrees Celsius, then it is confirmed that this beaker will contains the water. So it is confirmatory test. So boiling point is one of the physicochemical properties of the water. So if you go in any corner of the world, the water will always start boiling at 100 degrees Celsius. This physical property will never change. It is always remains constant. So by using these physicochemical properties, we can also determine the purity of any substances. So that's why before going to prepare any dosage form, first we have to confirm the drug, whether it is the claimed drug or not. Suppose if you are preparing paracetamol tablet, then first we have to confirm whether the given packet is of paracetamol or not. There are various accidents in the manufacturing of this type of dosage form. Many companies are sealed because of this improper studies. One company was there. So suppose any company is going to prepare two types of tablet, paracetamol and diclofenac, and there is no label or label get mismatch. So before going to prepare the tablet, first you have to confirm that whether the given label of the packet is correct or not, whether really it contain the paracetamol or not, or whether really it contain diclofenac or not. So first we have to confirm whether the given packet contain the real drug or not. Although the label indicates that the given packet contains paracetamol, but first we have to confirm by using physicochemical properties. Take a small quantity of paracetamol and go for melting point. Suppose it melt at let us say 265 degrees Celsius, then it will confirm that the given powder is paracetamol. Then and then only we will go for preparation of the paracetamol tablet. So there are many companies which ban because of this improper testing. So instead of paracetamol, sometime tablet get prepared by using the diclofenac, and final strip of the tablet label as paracetamol. So many doctor get confused why this tablet not giving its proper therapeutic response. So after testing, after going for the quality control, then a doctor will come to know that the given tablet does not contain paracetamol, it contains diclofenac. So in this way there are lots of accidents in manufacturing of the drug. So that's why before going for preparation, first we have to study the physicochemical properties of any drug. Once it is confirmed that the given powder is uh, whatever it may be, paracetamol or diclofenac, then we will go for preparation of the tablet. Then we can also determine the purity. Suppose given powder, suppose paracetamol melt at 265 degrees Celsius. So if the paracetamol is 100% pure, then it will melt at 265 degrees Celsius. Suppose there are any impurities in your drug product, then there may be variation in the melting point. Suppose your water which boil at 100 degrees Celsius, suppose you are going to add some other liquid in your water, then the boiling point may differ. There may be variation in the boiling point. So by checking these differences, we will come to know whether the given compound is pure or not. So as suppose you are going in the jewelry shop, so there is always one instrument, that is keratometer. So by using this keratometer, we comes to know whether the given gold is pure or not. So we can say that 24 karat gold is 100% pure. So if suppose there are some impurities, gold is mixed with some other metal, then the keratometer will detect that the given gold is of 18 karat gold, or it is 20, 22 likewise. So in this way The purity will affects after addition of some other ingredients. So by checking or by testing their physicochemical properties, we can check the purity of any substances. So prior to development of any dosage form, it is essential that the physical and chemical properties of drug to be determined. So that's why we have to always check the physical and chemical properties of the drug. So pre-formulation is the first step in development of the dosage form. So in order to prevent the accidents in manufacturing, pre-formulation is the first step. So in pre-formulation, if it is confirmed that the given drug is either paracetamol or diclofenac, then only we will go for the manufacturing step. So that's why pre-formulation is the first step in order to prevent the accidental manufacturing. Then pre-formulation commences when newly synthesized drug shows sufficient pharmacological responses. Suppose XYZ drug is newly discovered today and you don't have any idea about its melting point, its refractive index, optical activity or whatever it may be. So first we have to determine the physicochemical properties of that drug. Then we will come to know what type of dosage form will be suitable for this drug. Then let us see the definition of pre-formulation studies. It can be defined as phase of research and development for an investigation of physical and chemical properties of the drug in combination with other excipients in order to develop the safe and effective dosage form. So it can be defined as the phase of research and development for investigation of physicochemical properties of the drug along with the excipients. Drug and excipients. We are going to determine the physicochemical properties of drug along with the excipients. So suppose we are going to prepare the paracetamol tablet, then you have to go for pre-formulation studies of paracetamol along with the other excipients which are used in the manufacturing of tablet, so that you will prepare or you will develop the safe and effective dosage form. Then objective of pre-formulation studies. First objective is to establish the physicochemical properties of new drug entity. So first we have to develop the physicochemical properties. Means physicochemical properties means its melting point, boiling point, dissolution studies, pKa value, pH, all these parameters first we have to study it. Then to study or to establish the compatibility with other excipients. Suppose you are going to prepare paracetamol tablet, then whether this paracetamol is compatible with the other excipients. Other excipient means suppose we are using some diluents, you are using some binders in preparation of the tablet, then whether your paracetamol is compatible with that excipients or not, that we have to study. If it is compatible, means you can prepare the paracetamol tablet. Or how you can check the incompatibility. Suppose today after compression of any tablet, the given tablet is white in color, but after standing, after for storage of 1 month, suppose the color of tablet get changed from white to brownish or blackish color, then we can say that there is incompatibility. There may be reaction in between paracetamol along with the other excipients. So compatible means what? You can compress the given drug along with other excipients. There is no physicochemical reaction or there is no chemical reaction between drug and other excipients. To formulate stable and effective dosage form. Stable means you can check the expiry of any medicinal preparation. If you check the expiry, you can see that the given dosage form is stable up to 2 years or 3 years. Stable means there is no chemical reactions or the drug concentration remains at its is up to maximum 2 or 3 years. To increase the drug stability. Again, stability means same thing. Suppose some drugs are stable at particular environment. Suppose some drugs are stable at cold environment, some drugs stable at room temperature, some drugs stable at higher temperature. So according to the environmental condition, we have to store the drug products. To improve the drug viability means the rate and extent of drug that enter into your systemic circulation. So by checking their pre-formulation studies, we can improve their viability. Maximum drug can enter into the systemic circulation. Reduce the drug excipient incompatibilities. As we discussed already, we can reduce the drug excipient incompatibility by testing their pre-formulation studies. Then next, goal of pre-formulation. What is the goal? To establish the physicochemical parameters of a new drug substances, to determine the kinetic rate profile. Kinetic rate profile means after taking any dosage form, how it react with your body, how much time it takes to absorb, how much time to take to enter into systemic circulation, how much drug get metabolized by the liver, how much drug get eliminated by the kidneys. So these are called as the kinetic rate profile. So we can identify this from the physicochemical properties. Then to establish the compatibility with other excipients, whether the drug is compatible with other excipients or not, that we can identify by means of pre-formulation studies. The next, study of physicochemical characteristics of the drug substance. So mainly it is classified into four types: organoleptic characters, bulk characters, solubility analysis and stability analysis. Organoleptic character means just by means of visual observation you have to check the color and appearance of the given drug powders. That is called as organoleptic properties. Then bulk characters. Bulk characters, in this we have to study the crystallinity and polymorphism, hygroscopicity, fine particle characterization, powder flow properties. The next one is the solubility analysis. In this we have to study the ionization constant, that is pKa, pH solubility profile, common ion effect, thermal effect, solubilization, partition coefficient and dissolution studies. And under stability studies, we have to study the stability in toxicology formulation, solution stability, pH rate profile, solid state stability, bulk stability and compatibility. So let us see the physical properties. The first one is the crystallinity and polymorphism. So as you can see in this image, there are two types of the crystal, salt and sugar. So you can see that the salt is perfectly cubic in shape, cube shape, and sugar is maybe you can say hexagonal or cuboidal shape. Okay? So you can see the difference in salt crystal and sugar crystal. So during manufacturing of this type of crystal, it is the natural tendency of any molecule to adjust itself into a crystal form. So as you can see the shape of this crystal, there is no one standing there to give this type of shape to a sugar crystal or salt crystal. We are not going to offer this type of shapes to any crystal. It is the natural tendency of any compound to acquire this type of shapes. So what is meant by crystallinity? The crystal habit and internal structure affects the bulk and physicochemical properties. Crystal habit and internal structure. Habit means was the description of outer appearance of the crystal. Habit means outer appearance. So from the outer appearance of this salt and sugar, you can see salt is cubic shape and the sugar is cuboidal or hexagonal shape. So these are the shape of this salt and sugar. So this is the habit of this crystal. Habit means outer appearance. And there are various other shapes like acicular, needle, platy, massive tubular. So these are the various other shape of any crystals. So habit is the outer appearance and internal structure is the internal molecular arrangement. So habit is the outer appearance and internal is the internal arrangement of the molecules. Let us see the internal structure. Internal structure means molecular arrangement within the solids. So you can see in this picture, green and blue molecules are connected with each other. From outside shape you can say it is cubic in the shape, but internally molecules are also connected with each other, and this molecular arrangement will having effect on the crystal habit. A single internal structure of compound can have different habits. depending upon the environment available for its growth. So depending on the environmental factor, this internal molecular arrangement will be different. So these are the various type of internal structures. Chemical compound, it is the crystallinity is classified into habits and internal structure. Further, the internal structure is of two types, crystalline and amorphous. Again, crystalline is of maybe a single entity or polymorphs, or it may be a molecular adducts. Then molecular adducts may be a non-stoichiometric or stoichiometric. Then again, non-stoichiometric compounds may be of layer, channel or cage. That is also called as clathrates. The next one is the crystals are characterized by the repetitious spacing of constituent atoms or a molecule in three-dimensional arrays. So you can see in this picture, the atoms or molecules are spacing in a three-dimensional structure. There is constant repetition of the molecule. After green there is blue molecule, then after blue there is green, blue. In this way, constantly they are arranged in a three-dimensional array. Whereas in case of amorphous forms, atoms and molecules are randomly placed in a liquid. So in case of crystal, atoms and molecules are spaced in a three-dimensional array, whereas in amorphous it is randomly arranged. There is no specific arrangement in case of amorphous structure. Since amorphous forms are usually having higher thermodynamic energy than the crystalline form, the solubilities as well as dissolution rates are generally greater. So in case of amorphous form, thermodynamic energy are usually higher than the crystalline form, and that's why the solubility and dissolution rate of amorphous forms are generally greater. Means in short, we can say that amorphous forms are having more solubility as compared to the crystalline form. Upon storage of amorphous solids tends to convert into a stable form during the bulk processing. So during preparation of any tablet or any other dosage form, sometimes amorphous solids get converted into crystalline form or more stable form. So if there is any conversion of amorphous to solid, there may be effect on the stability of the dosage form. Once the amorphous form get converted into crystalline, then the solubility will decrease, and this decreased solubility will affect the viability of that drug compound. And this is the major disadvantage for developing amorphous forms. So during processing of any dosage form, first we have to identify whether the compound is hydrate or anhydrous. First we have to go for identification of hydrate compound is important, since the aqueous solubility is significantly less than anhydrous. So first we have to identify whether the given compound is hydrate or anhydrous form. So anhydrous forms are generally having more solubility as compared to the hydrate. So as you can see in this picture, this dark black color spot indicates the higher peak. High peak means what? More amount of drug absorbs into the systemic circulation. And this blank circular spot, so this second curve indicates the trihydrate form, means hydrate form. So means less amount of drug absorbed into the systemic circulation. So if you are expecting that the given drug should reaches to the highest concentration in systemic circulation, then the given compound should be in anhydrous form. It must be in anhydrous form but not in hydrate form. Anhydrous form absorbs rapidly as compared to the hydrate form. So conversion of anhydrous to hydrate form may reduce the dissolution rate. As we have discussed earlier, the amorphous form, conversion of amorphous to crystalline form again affect the dissolution rate. Again in the same way, conversion of anhydrous to hydrate may affect the dissolution and solubility of that drug, and directly it will affect the extent of absorption. So as shown in this figure, the more soluble anhydrous form of penicillin produce higher peaks in the bloodstream than the less soluble hydrate form. So anhydrous form produces the higher peak. As you can see in this graph, anhydrous form produces the higher peak and hydrate form produces the lower peaks. So that's why the given drug products must be in anhydrous form if you are expecting high solubility and directly the high viability. Next is the polymorphism. What is meant by polymorphism? It is the ability of compound to crystallize in more than one distinct crystalline species with the different internal lattices. Different crystalline form means as you can see in this image, there are different crystalline forms: platy, uh, massive form, needle shape, blended, tabular, or prismatic form. So sometimes a single drug can exist into this different crystalline form. Suppose we are talking about XYZ, then this XYZ may be present in platyform, it may be having needle shaped crystal, or it may be having bladed shaped structure, prismatic structure, or tabular structure. So single drug can exist into different crystalline form, and this ability of the drug to present in different crystalline form is called as polymorphism. Poly means many, morphs means crystal shape. So a single drug can present into different crystalline form, and this is called as polymorphism. The chemical stability and solubility changes due to polymorphism can have an impact on the drug viability. So this type of polymorphism can have an impact on the drug viability and development program. How this polymorphism affects the drug viability? Let us see. For example, chloramphenicol palmitate. So this is one of the antibiotic mainly used in the eye infections. Sometimes a person may be suffering from red eye infections, or this chloramphenicol used in the various type of eye infections. So this chloramphenicol naturally exists into three polymorphs, that is A, B and C. And out of this A, B and C, only B polymorph is active in the nature. Suppose we are having three types of the crystalline forms of chloramphenicol, that is chloramphenicol A, chloramphenicol B and chloramphenicol C. So out of these three forms, only B form is active. So that's why first we have to see that whether the given polymorph is of A, B or C type, and how to check this A, B, C type by using pre-formulation studies. So by means of pre-formulation studies, we come to know whether the chloramphenicol is of A, B or C type. Once it is confirmed that the given powder is of B type polymorph, then we are going to prepare either chloramphenicol eye drop, or we can prepare any other dosage form. So as you can see in this graph, microgram chloramphenicol per ml. So it shows a straight line or the highest concentration for the polymorph B. Whether that for the polymorph A and B, the length may be downside, means there may not be higher concentration for the polymorph A and polymorph C. Many physicochemical properties vary with the internal structure of the solid drug, including the melting point, density, hardness, and the crystal shape. Next, different crystalline forms are called as the polymorphs. And polymorphs are of two types: enantiotropic or monotropic. What is meant by enantiotropic and monotropic? Enantiotropic means one polymorph can change into another. One polymorph can change into another. As we discussed, chloramphenicol A can convert it into chloramphenicol B. So this type of polymers are called as enantiotropic, means they can change from one polymorph into another. So this is called as enantiotropic polymer. For example, sulfur. Then again, one polymer which is unstable at all temperature and pressure is called as monotropic, means there is no effect of temperature and pressure or moisture on this type of polymer. So this polymer does not change. So this is called as monotropic polymer. For example, glyceryl stearate. Then characterization of this solid forms means how you can say that the given polymorphs is anisotropic or monotropic, or how to identify whether the chloramphenicol palmitoid is of A type, B type or C type. Means how we can decide the polymorphism, or how to know whether the polymorph is of A type, B type or any other type. So this polymorph type can be determined by using this type of various techniques by means of microscopy, by means of fusion method, by means of DSC, that is differential scanning calorimetry, infrared spectroscopy, X-ray power diffraction, scanning electron microscopy, thermogravimetric analysis, dissolution and solubility analysis. So by using these various techniques we can identify the polymorphs. Then second, microscopy. Microscopy means by using a microscope we have to check the habit of that crystal, whether it is isotropic or anisotropic. So all substances are generally only of two types, either it may be isotropic or anisotropic when observed under the microscope. So what is meant by isotropic and anisotropic? Material with more than one refractive index is called as anisotropic. Anisotropic means if any material is having more than more than one refractive index, then it is called as anisotropic. And iso means it is having only one refractive index. Isotropic materials have only single refractive index, and these substances do not transmit the light with cross polarizing filter and appears black. So when light passes through the crystal, it can transmit the different type of color bands. So in case of anisotropic substances, this type of substances can appear bright with the brilliant color against black polarized background. If the light pass through these anisotropic substances, the bright brilliant color you can observe against the black background. But isotropic substances do not transmit the light. So this is the difference between isotropic and anisotropic. Anisotropic means having more than one refractive index and observe bright against the black background, and isotropic means having single refractive index and it cannot transmit the light. What is the advantage of microscopy? By this method we can study the crystal morphology and difference between polymorphic form. We can study the crystal morphology and difference between the polymorphic form. And the disadvantage is this requires a well-trained optical crystallographer, as there are many possible crystal habits and their appearance at the different orientation. So suppose for example chloramphenicol palmitate, it is exist into three crystalline form. So advantage of this microscopy that we can identify the different polymorphs, differences between the polymorphic forms. We can identify the different polymorphic form whether it is of A, B or C. But in order to identify that this different polymorphic form, the disadvantage is that in order to identify this polymorph, you will require the well-trained optical crystallographer, because there are lots of crystal habits and their appearance at different orientations. Thermal analysis. So let us see how we can identify or how we can check the purity of any drug substances by means of thermal analysis. Differential scanning calorimetry and differential thermal analysis are particularly useful in the investigation of polymorphism. So this DSC and DTA, these are used in investigation of the polymorphism. Means by using this technique we can investigate the polymorph. We can identify the type of polymorphs. So it measures the heat loss or gain resulting from the physical chemical changes within the sample as a function of temperature. So in this case your drug will expose to the high temperature, and whether when your drug is exposed to the high temperature, whether there is heat loss or gain resulting from the physical or chemical change within the sample. So after exposing we have to check the heat loss or gain. So for characterizing the crystal form, the heat of fusion can be obtained from the area under DSC curve for melting endotherm. For characterizing the crystal form, we have to check the heat of fusion. Heat of fusion means when your drug starts to melt. So this temperature we have to check by using the DSC curve. So similarly, heat of transition from one polymorph to another may be calculated. Heat of transition means heat of transition from one polymorph to another means when your one crystalline form of substance get converted into another crystalline form. So at that time, what was the heat of transition? So heat of transition is the temperature at which one polymorph get converted into another. So this can also be calculated in the thermal analysis. A sharp symmetric melting endotherm can indicate the relative purity of the molecule. As you can see in this graph, so first DSC curve is for the anhydrous form. So you can see this anhydrous form. Initially, it is completely having a straight line, and then there is a sudden rise in the peak. So this peak indicates the melting point of this drug product. Suppose we are having a diclofenac sodium and it is having melting point at 200 degrees Celsius. So if this peak observed, sharp peak observed at 200 degrees Celsius, it means that the given drug product is 100% pure. So if there is variation in this sharp peak, it means that the given drug is having impurities. So you can see in the next drug, it is a combination of anhydrous and dihydrate. 10 is to 1 in the ratio of 10 is to 1, there is a mixture of anhydrous and dihydrate. So as we are going to add the dihydrate, the solubility of the product get decreased, and that's why you can see there is a rise in broad peak. So the rise in the broad peak indicates that there is certain impurities, and these impurities are because of this dihydrate form. And again in third graph, when we are going to add large amount of dihydrate form, then you can see this type of broad peaks appear, and this broad peak indicates high amount of impurities. But there will be one constant peak will be there, that is for the drug product. If there is a single peak, single sharp peak, that indicates the drug product is completely pure. And if there is any broad peaks appear in the DSC thermogram, then it indicates that the given products are impure in the nature. So in this way, by observing the sharp peak, we can decide the purity of any substances. Broad asymmetric curve indicates the presence of impurities, as we discussed. Next is the X-ray diffraction, an important technique for establishing batch-to-batch reproducibility of the crystal. When a beam of non-homogeneous X-ray is allowed to pass through a crystal, X-ray beam is diffracted and it is recorded by means of photographic plate. So from if you are having the crystal of any drug product, suppose we are having the crystal of sugar, so from this crystal we are going to pass the X-ray radiation, and if the given crystal is sugar, then always there will be X-ray diffraction as X-ray diffraction at a particular angle. Suppose for a sugar molecule, X-ray diffraction will be always at 20.8 degree. As you can see in this image, suppose we are considering this for XYZ drug, the diffraction will be always at 20.8 degree. Suppose we are talking about diclofenac, then the X-ray diffraction will always occur at this degree, at this angle. So always at this angle there will be diffraction in X-ray radiations. So diffraction is due to crystal which acts as a three-dimensional diffraction grating towards X-ray. Standard curve for polarographic forms A and B of chloramphenicol palmitate is shown in the figure. So this given graph is for the chloramphenicol A and B. So this is the X-ray diffraction instrument, At the center you can see there is one crystal, and from this crystal we are going to transfer the X-ray radiations. So this radiation should go in straight direction. So suppose there is a diffraction in the X-ray radiation, so we have to check at what angle X-ray radiation get diffracted. So this X-ray radiation, diffraction of X-ray radiation is always constant for all substances. As we discussed in case of water, water always starts to boil at 100 degrees Celsius. In the same way, this X-ray diffraction is always same for all type of drug. Suppose for diclofenac it is 20.8, so X-ray radiation will always occur at 20.8 degree. It will never change. So in this way we can identify its purity, or we can confirm whether the given drug is XYZ or not. So by means of X-ray diffraction we can confirm the given drugs. So this is all about for the today's lecture. So if you having any doubts you can ask.